Hello everyone! LK Lightning 2.0 is out, and this is a video showing off some of the new, or rather most of the new features in version 2. So yeah, for the uninitiated, what is LK Lightning? LK Lightning is a plugin for particle and strand animation that focuses on having a very intuitive interface, not requiring any specific high ice knowledge, and also not being simulated. So it is a lot more like really just animating, and you can really just jump around in the timeline whatever you want. It's not the usual simulation workflow of working with particles where you tweak a parameter and then you press simulate and wait for 5 minutes. It's just very much there. You can jump wherever you want to go. You can jump into the ice tree, have these compounds which make a lot of sense, and you can just adjust these values however you want. You can, change the color of your trunks, and it's just there, and it's everywhere immediately. So that's basically what LK Lightning is. 2.0 is a very big update. We have here the changelog, which you can read through. It's not completely comprehensive. There are some, there must be some changes that slipped through my fingers, but the big ones should be here. And yeah, well, one of the new ones is a new animation engine, and that basically means that LK Lightning now behaves a lot more like a, at least in its animation, like a normal particle plugin. You can just sort of go through the timeline, and it very much behaves like a normal particle simulation that you're used to, but without being simulated. So you don't have to wait, which is very neat. And most of that really happens in the new emitters, which are completely revamped. They have a lot of cool options now where you can mess around, and I'll make videos in the future really going in depth in terms of what these parameters are. So that's pretty cool. Other than that, we now have support for orientation, which was a long time coming. I mentioned the completely revamped emitters. We have a new measure, which we're going to get into in the second sample scene, which I'm going to show off here. We're going to go through a couple of sample scenes here, and well, let's just jump into two. And what we have here is just a very simple animation, just a curve, and we have these particles moving along here, leaving a trail. Really kind of fun, just normal stuff, but what's cool about it is you can just play with it however you want. You can just move this around, and it's always immediately there, and that's pretty cool. But to get to the measure, we have this new feature. You can go to primitive and just hit LKL mesh selection, and I already have done that, so let me unhide this here, and there we go. And this looks really cool. And this is a measure which, if we hit Alt 9 here, there we go. It meshes whatever you want. It meshes all your particles or your strands, whatever you want. And this is really a very necessary feature. This is really very cool. And you can take a look at this here. I can totally imagine this, I don't know, on the back of some exotic animal or an alien. This could even be an alien. Anyway, it's really a very useful feature because it allows you to do a lot of neat stuff, and I have a tutorial on that called Swirling 7, which really goes very deep into what some neat stuff you can do with the measure. But it's also very good for integrating with third-party renderers. For example, I'm messing around with Redshift right now, and Redshift, which is a very, very cool renderer. It's brand new and it's super fast, very interesting. Check it out. It's in alpha right now. But it does not support point clouds. So it's really a godsend to be able to just, take your ice point clouds or your LKL point clouds and just mesh them and put them through whatever render you want. You can just export that mesh to Maya and render it in whatever you want. It's just there. So that's a really useful and very nice feature. Let's go to the next scene. So what do we have here? A bit more growth stuff. Just load this. And there we go. Oh, what do we have here? And this is basically just a nice little, you know, sort of restaurant scene, I guess, which is completely overgrown with vines. And if we just scrub through the timeline here, it starts out innocent enough. And then, it's growing more and more. And that's really cool. And that's just one of the things you can do with Alkaline Lightning, you know. It's very diverse. You saw a forest earlier. You can grow vines with it. And you can do neat stuff like we saw in that last scene here. And this is, if I bring up the ice tree, quite a bit more complicated. Although it's not really. You know, we emit from the ground. And then we have something here where it sort of crawls. We have a controller, a surface controller, where it crawls over the floor and over the walls. And then we have another surface controller that sort of tells it, hey, if you get really close to the walls, back off, so that there's no interpenetration. And then we have some curve controllers here, which are basically just some curves that go up the pillars here on the side, so that we have that nice growth here, sort of, yeah, towards the top, which is pretty nice. We have some splitting so that the vines sort of part ways in the middle and split up into several ones, which is kind of neat. And yeah, just a bit of turbulization to make it a bit more, you know, to make it a bit more, you know, realistic. Let me re-enable that. All right, so that's a really cool scene. And I think I set up some shaders here even. Let's see. Yeah. Very primitive, but you know, you get the idea, so that's kind of cool. Let's move on to the next sample scene. What do we have here? Swirling 7. If you've already seen this sort of teaser tutorial, which I put out I think a month or so ago, this really goes very much into depth in terms of what we can do with the meshing. And what's happening basically here is we have these strands which are coming up, and then they are being splitted by this null over here. So, and then they are meshed and cut out into the shape of the 7. So that's pretty cool. It's very neat, and you know, I can hide this and I can show you the point cloud, and I can move this around. It's, you know, you can really just very much toy around with this. So we have the 7 here, and can move this. Nice. And it's really a very simple ice tree. Like, that's all the nodes involved in that. Really simple, very cool. Yeah, just if you want to learn more about this project, there is a tutorial on leonardkoch.com here. This one called LKL Tutorial 1 Swirling 7 really goes into depth in that terms of in that project. Okay, so let's move on to the next sample scene. That's a laser pointer. This is kind of a fun one. We're sort of, again, in a restaurant scene. We have this little laser pointer over here, and it's shooting these rays. And this thing is, this laser pointer is rotating over time, and it stops. So it's a fairly simple thing at this point. So it stops when it hits geometry. That can be the chair here, or chair there. Later on here, the wall. It stops when it hits that. But once it gets into this volume here, it goes a bit crazy. And then, wait for it, there we go, bam. And also those, when it goes crazy, it sort of evades those. It stops when it hits the geometry, and it, as we can sort of see here, it sort of tangles around it, sort of plays with it, which is really kind of cool. And this is once again a fairly simple ice tree. It's yeah, you know, just wait for those tutorials which are really going to go into depth in terms of what are these things going to do. And it's going to give you a very good idea. But these are fairly intuitive, so just mess around with it, just play with it. It's also immediate, so you're not wasting a lot of time. You know, it's all just always there. I can just jump around. I don't know, I can mess with these parameters. I can go into the turbolizer here and increase the turbulence to like 30, and you know, it goes further out. I can make the effect less strong. Or I can say, hey, I want it more strongly in the beginning here. I can go into this curve and pull this in. And there we go. Now we have more of a gradual effect here in the beginning. So, you know, you can just really play around with this a lot. Alright, so let's move on to the next sample scene. What do we have? Creepy tentacles. This is a fun one. I just came up with the thing in 5 minutes. So we have these balls here, these kind of, yeah, just spheres. And they're emitting these strands, and the strands are sort of trying to get to the other spheres. And they're doing this in a very creepy fashion. Here's what it looks like rendered. I wouldn't want to meet these in a dark alley. And it's just a nice little animation here. They pop out and they grow, they curl out, and then they curl up. Oh, I don't want to be with anyone. Maybe I do want to, you know, sort of touch you, but creepy, creepy. Yeah, you know, you get the idea. And once again, this is fairly simple. It's just a couple of nodes, and what's doing most of the action here is just basically the attraction of the strands towards the spheres being animated. The strength is being animated, and sort of if I reduce this, then they're very much stretched out. But if I increase this, then they're growing towards their partners and towards themselves, and sort of are curling up, which is kind of nice. And we have a splitter here, which just gives us a couple more. If we enable this, you know, maybe increase the creep factor a bit with a bit more density here. Oh yeah, that definitely looks creepier. Here, less creepier. Yep, yeah, the little ones really make a difference. All right, so let's go to the next sample scene. And this is a bit of a techie one. So what this basically, this sample scene does is it shows off the is particle and is strand parameters, which is something that was requested on the Softimage mailing list. And basically it allows you to go into the render tree and give different materials to the strands compared to the particles. So in this case, the trunk have just a normal trunk color, while the leaves, which are in the very same point cloud, are using a leaf texture, and it's, as you can see here, and its transparency. And we can render this. And as you can see, the trunks have a different material than the things. And this is accomplished here with the color switch and the Boolean attribute, which we're loading in from eyes. Very simple, but very useful in a lot of cases when you're combining strands and particles. And that's pretty much it. The other one here is an LK Skinner scene. It's just skinning one high-res mesh to a low-res mesh. I'm going to do another video on LK Skinner itself. And then we have another simple, very simple example here, just showing off how orientation works. We have a lot of tools for orientation now, and here's just one of it. Basically, we have these particles coming out from this donut here, and as this grid is getting close to it, they are switching their orientation towards the normal, or towards the orientation of the surface. And it's you know, it's just this neat little effect that sort of goes through here. There you can sort of see it here, how it's switching. And you know, you can play around with this, and you can do the same thing with size and stuff like that. I'm going to put a lot more stuff out of that in future versions, like 2.1, which will include a lot more motion graphic stuff, so you can you know, really go crazy with this stuff. All right, well, yeah, that was LK Lightning. Let's go back to our first scene here. I feel like we didn't dedicate enough time to it. I was talking about other stuff the whole time. And yeah, this is LK Lightning. Does a lot of cool stuff. I hope I gave you a good insight. And yeah, I hope you try it out. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you can use it in production. It's really fun to work with. It's very interactive, and you can really do a lot of diverse stuff with it. I didn't show off any actual lightning stuff here, but of course LK Lightning is still very good at doing lightning, but it's also good at doing a lot of other stuff. And I, you know, hope you consider it for your projects, and yeah, look forward to more tutorial videos. If you want to take a deeper look at this scene here where we are growing this forest here, And there we even changed the seasons and things like that, so we make it turn to fall. You can check that out on leonardkoch.com, and it's this tutorial here, tutorial growing a forest. And yeah, just make sure to check it out. You can get Algae Lightning here. Just go to the purchase page and put in your information, and it's gonna be with you in a couple of hours. All right, I hope this was interesting to you, and I will see you quite soon. Have a good one.